Hello everybody, Disciple here with Overwatch Curios. In late 2015 at BlizzCon, the hero known as Mei Zhao was revealed to the world and playable by the masses for the first time on the show floor. She was unique and fun to play, and maybe just a little bit overpowered, but she was fresh and new and pretty adorable. But she didn't pop into existence just like that, and just like the other heroes in Overwatch, Mei went through a ton of concepts and changes before ending up as she is today. Probably more changes and iterations than most heroes actually. So let's take a look at how Mei developed from early sketches to the Ice Queen of defense heroes that she is today, and see just what Mei could have been. Now, I know that Mei isn't everyone's favorite character, and some people might even hate her just a little, so I talked with my friends down at Blizzard and they agreed to delete Mei from the game if this video gets 20,000 likes. So don't forget to smack the hell out of that thumbs up, and let's get started. When Mei was first on the drawing board at Blizzard HQ, she was a completely different hero in terms of story, art, and style. The team had been working on concepts for some kind of cold or ice-based hero for some time, and really wanted to make that a reality. They didn't really have any other working concepts at the time besides ice and cold, so it could have meant literally anything in that category as her kit hadn't even been created yet. The hero's codename was actually Frostbite, which sounds much more sinister or aggressive. Perhaps there was actually a completely different direction the team wanted to take, and we can assume that the hero probably had a much more bad guy story behind her because of that name. The concept piece would be the start of the hero's entire lore, background, and ties into various aspects of the Overwatch story that were already in place. However, they do have to eventually create a character that not only fits into the story and theme, but even to the existing maps and game modes without any issues. She might have even been considered for an offensive hero instead of a defensive one. We'll have more on that a little later. Let's start from the beginning. Early on, the team was really trying to flesh out the character and figure out just who Frostbite would end up being lore-wise and how she'd fit into the Overwatch universe. One concept labeled her an adventurer who had geared up for mountaineering. This sounds very interesting as mobility is one of Mei's weak points currently in the game. A mountaineer would have no trouble getting to out-of-the-way places or scaling walls and cliff sides. Her melee weapon would no doubt be the ice pick on her back, sticking with the more aggressive nature of the early concept. She might have even had some sort of survival kit used to keep her health up or to patch up allies even. The endothermic blaster would probably still need to be there to keep up with the ice theme, even if it didn't make as much sense for a mountaineer to have a gun that fires ice at things. You can definitely see the inspiration and ideas behind the Mountaineer theme in today's Mei lore and design. Her classic skins showcase a huge coat and arctic gear that's perfect for cold and mountainous climates. Mei is also a climatologist who is used to working in those types of environments, like at Eco Point Antarctica, the current 3v3 map in the arcade. Fitting her into the lore as a hero aligned with Overwatch would have been pretty difficult here as well. Frostbite might have been more aligned with Talon like Reaper or Widowmaker, or perhaps a freelancer kind of vigilante like McCree. This would have made the Eco Point map and any current ties between Mei and the good side of Overwatch pretty much impossible. That kind of lore direction would have been tied in greatly with another concept that was thrown into the mix, a bounty hunter type hero that could use freezing technology to capture her targets in ice. Sticking with that ice theme, she would probably have more control-oriented abilities instead of direct damage-dealing traits. Some kind of snare or traps to slow or lock down enemies for the freezing process would pretty easily fit in here. Bounty hunters and mercenaries are known for getting the job done whatever the means, so dirty tricks and distraction would certainly make sense. Imagine a no health, no damage dealing decoy that could be tossed out to distract the enemy while you trap a healer or take out a low health target. Or maybe an ice storm that could conceal a small area, covering the team from damage or targetable abilities. There are tons of different abilities and traits that a bounty hunter hero could have, but ultimately the team went a completely different way with Frostbite. The freezing tech stuck throughout the process as Mei currently has an arsenal of cryogenic abilities she uses to block incoming damage, deal a ton of damage herself, and keep her enemies in place while she does so. But the idea of an ice-slinging bounty hunter is straight up awesome and would have been a pretty cool fan favorite. Later in concept, Arnold Tseng, who's the lead concept artist on the Overwatch team, drew up a much cuter, friendlier, and nerdier hero concept for Mei that was the complete opposite of what Frostbite had been all this time, and is a lot closer to what we know today. Gone were the darker, more sinister themes of the concept, replaced by some cute but deadly hero approach that we've all come to love or hate a lot. The dev team wanted to make Mei more of a normal person, so to speak, by creating a hero that had a ton of optimism, loved adventure, was inspired to take the path of heroism. It was a complete 180 from the sharp, aggressive tone that the concept was taking with the adventurer, mountaineer, bounty hunter approach, and instead, the team settled on Mei being a scientist. This fits right into the overall lore of the game, and Mei would make a great addition to the Overwatch organization on the side of good. The difference in art really shows how the ideation process took a huge turn in this hero's development. With the earlier concept, you notice a much taller and thinner hero with a less than friendly face that seems to be looking for trouble. Think slender like Tracer and attitude like Widow, and you might not be too far off. While the color scheme and winter clothing remained with an early version of her endothermic blaster in her hands, you can see by her stance and pose that she was much more ready for combat. The goggles on her head could have just been to round out the look, or maybe used in some sort of ability or ultimate like Soldier 76 to, track infrared. She's got a much more athletic build, which she would probably needed if the team had stuck with the mountain climbing adventure ideas they began with. The early concepts may have even dropped her into another hero category instead of defense. With the kind of mobility and damage potential the concepts could have led to, you could easily slide her into an offensive damage dealing role. At first glance, she kind of looks like a flanker or ranged damage dealer even. You can definitely see her climbing over walls and obstacles to get in behind the team and do some pretty massive damage. Imagine Mei as she is, with the ability to sneak up behind you and flank with her abilities, and then freeze your entire team without warning. That sounds pretty terrifying, and I feel like the way that they went with it is probably a little more balanced. In between these two concepts actually lies a third piece of art that kind of mixes the two themes. This early concept shows the same shorter, less athletic body variety with a more cute and friendly overtone, while still maintaining the sharper gear and attitude look from the Frostbite concept. If you look closely at the way this version of Mei is standing as well, how she's holding her blaster, you'll notice that she looks pretty close to another hero with a big gun, Zarya. Add to that how her weapon pretty much fires a streaming beam of ice, and you can see how the similarities would make the Overwatch art team stop and reiterate this one, since they started to overlap a little bit too much. While the hero may not have been a tank like Zarya or had a similar playstyle, it would have been really easy to at least confuse these two with their silhouettes, which is a really big deal with a game that's so fast-paced. Players could easily confuse one for the other and make the wrong choice when engaging, since there's two women holding massive guns wearing this huge, cold gear. Also, skin choices may have been affected by the silhouette problem with their shape and style, putting a restriction on the team's choices for skin themes in the future. There's also an interesting fourth art concept we see in the group that isn't even fully colorized, but stands out all the same. In this image, Mei is short but slender, and her face and demeanor are more neutral than cute and friendly like they are now. Her weapon is much longer and resembles more of a staff than the large bulky weapon from her previous image. It's almost more like Mercy's Caduceus staff than a blaster or a gun. Her clothing still sticks to the same theme, but looks much thinner, and it seems like there are more traditional type designs to get headgear and coat, which don't really fit with the Arctic weather gear theme of being bulky and warm. This may have been the Mountaineer Frostbite concept drawn up at an earlier phase, or an alternate concept for Mei during her evolution from aggressive fighter to adorable scientist. Maybe even with the staff it could have been more like a Frost mage in her playstyle, even though that type of magic doesn't necessarily exist in the universe. They could use science to replicate it. She definitely has more of a badass look to her in this particular piece. Looking at this evolution from an idea in an artist's head to the first, second, third, and even fourth overhaul of the hero, it's really easy to see exactly what Mei could have been. The team not only had to create a hero that would be fun and awesome to learn about and play, but one that fit the lore, style, and roster of Overwatch without making too many ripples in any of those categories. And that's really not an easy task. Even though we have the hero that hits the mark on all of those factors, it would still be interesting to think about how new heroes that take from the old Frostbite and Mei concepts and turn them into something amazing. The bounty hunter concept has plenty of space to breathe and grow in a universe of lore as varied and all over the place as Overwatch's story is, as well as the super mobile climbing aspects of the Mountaineer approach. Mobility is a huge deal in the game, and seeing someone Spider-Man all over the map might be pretty awesome to give Hanzo and Genji a run for their money. Mei has certainly seen her share of redesign and iteration over the long course of her development. The hero we know today can easily make or break a team comp, especially on defense in some places where there's a big choke you can wall off. And while she's not currently at the top of the meta, she's been gaining a lot of traction in the competitive scene lately. It's fun to stop and think about how the meta and gameplay itself might change if Frostbite had taken Mei's place on the roster. Let me know what you guys think about the concepts around Mei's beginning and what you think Mei could have been if they went with some other paths, or what you would have liked to see from her. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and remember, if we hit 20,000, then I'm sure my boys over at Blizzard are gonna take her out for you. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.